Hello everyone, as you can see, this is going to be my, oh, get that glare out of my eye, my recap of my Wrestlemania 35 trip. I didn't end up vlogging over WrestleMania just because it was such a chore to get around to everything, and I was so tired all 4 days. But I will say this probably was the most fun that I have had on a WrestleMania trip. Just because, like I said in my video where I ran down what I was going to be doing, just because of the circumstances surrounding it, I knew it was something my dad would have wanted us to do, so we did everything we wanted. We spent quite a bit of money at the Superstore. But to get everything started, we stayed the night before we left, like I said before. We stayed down at the airport so we could sleep a little longer. Our flight actually only ended up taking like an hour and 8 minutes, so we were not concerned, but we were hoping that we'd be able to check in to our room because we landed at like 9 o'clock. No, we landed at 8:45. And luckily it ended up taking us an hour in New York traffic to get from LaGuardia to where we stayed is normally a 24-minute drive. It took us an hour simply because of traffic. And I have to say this, New York City cab drivers are far and away the most brave and ridiculous human beings on the face of the planet. They have to be. They take their lives in their own hands every single day when they drive. So Godspeed to the New York City cab drivers. But we get to the hotel where we stayed at the New York Midtown Hilton, which was the WrestleCon hotel. I walk right in and I'm like, this is way too nice for me to be staying here. I stay at Red Roof Inns most of the time, so yeah, this was way nicer than I was accustomed to. But I walk up and the lady saw my hoodie that I had on. She goes, "Oh, you're here for WrestleCon, aren't you?" I said, "Yes, ma'am." We actually ended up with not a nicer room. We ended up with a room with a refrigerator, which was super cool. I had to pay an early check-in fee, but it was worth the $25 early check-in fee so we could go up and use the bathroom and drop our stuff off. And then from there, we got on the train and went to the Superstore in Brooklyn. To tell you how remote where Access and the Superstore was compared to the rest of even Brooklyn, we had to get to, we went to the Smith 9th Street subway station in Brooklyn, then had to Uber a mile and a half to Pier 12, the Brooklyn Cruise Terminal, which was actually pretty neat to be around because that's where the ferry comes in from Manhattan. And in the distance, you could actually see the Statue of Liberty, which I thought was a really neat thing that you were able to do. But, yeah, we had to wait in line like 45 minutes for the Superstore. We got there at like 20 till 12, so like 11:40. But they were actually, because the Brooklyn Cruise Terminal is actually part of the Port Authority and Homeland Security, so they were wanding and like making you open your jackets and everything. So that took a little bit extra time, but we get in. We get all our normal stuff. We get the program, the WrestleMania hoodie. We got the Kofi Mania shirt. I may have to do a separate video showing everything we got because I've actually since gotten some more shirts that they didn't have sizes for at the Superstore because they ran a buy one get one for $1. But the Superstore normally is just ridiculous. There's anything and everything you could possibly think of. NXT stuff, autographs. I really wish I had $5,000 lying around, simply because they had a TV used Daniel Bryan hemp belt signed. I almost pulled the trigger on buying just like a normal replica of it, but I'm like, do I really want to spend $400 on something that's just going to sit around and really never be used? Because I don't see him being the champion again for a while. Oh, spoiler alert, if you haven't watched WrestleMania, I don't know why you wouldn't have, but like there's autograph, there's autographed pictures and pins and belts. I'm not normally a pin guy, but there were two that I really, really wanted. Anybody who knows me, one of my two favorite wrestlers of all time is Eddie Guerrero. So they had a Latino Heat pin, just like his last, not the I'm Your Poppy shirt, the one right after he won the title, like the black and white Scarface looking picture. And then the other one was an Adam Cole he advertised it on his Twitter. It's like it's him doing the Bay thing with the North American title. And my brother got a Braun Strowman pin. Yeah, I think we bought every Kofi shirt they had. I'll get to that here in a little bit when I talk about WrestleMania. But yeah, we get the Superstore done. We get all our stuff. We Uber back to the subway station. Half-hour subway ride back. But the bright side is the subway station was like a block from our hotel, so we didn't have to walk very far, which was really, really nice. And then after that, we went and got some lunch. And then we took a nap because we were pretty tired. My brother slept a little longer than I did because I had to get up. Because before the WrestleCon Super Show, I had the opportunity to meet Jushin Thunder Liger, which was a big deal for me because I have two of my earliest, not just wrestling memories, but two of my earliest memories in life was watching Jushin Thunder Liger and the Great Muta on WCW television. I'll get to Muta here in a little bit, but Liger was really, really cool. English, not so good, but it was really, really neat to get to see him because this is the last year that he's going to be wrestling, which is kind of heartbreaking simply because, he, like, as I saw later at the WrestleCon Super Show, the guy can still go in the ring. Like, he's looked really, really good in his match, but you can tell he's a little slowed down, but I mean, the guy is probably 50 years old and has had a brain tumor before, but super fun. And then I get in line for the Super Show. My brother in turn gets in line. Our seats were actually really, really good. The way they did it was there were the main sections, and then where normally like an indie show would be like a walkway, they filled in with other seats just because they wanted as many people to get in as they possibly could. And I'm trying to find the results here real quick just so I can kind of run through what happened. To open the show was Animal and Ric Flair, because it was something about somebody was late getting to the Super Show or some hold up with the Athletic Commission. I'm not really 100% certain, but so the start of the show was actually delayed about 15 minutes. The show didn't start till 7:15. But it was a real the first match featured a guy that I've loved from the very first time I ever saw him in a ring, Eddie Kingston. He faced and Eddie got on the microphone and said after the match he kind of not begged and pleaded, but he really, really asked for this. It was him and Masato Tanaka, really hard, as you can imagine, really hard hitting. Tanaka gets the win because Eddie had to beeline it over to AIW. I'm not going to go through every match, just kind of the highlights. For me, one of the top 4 or 5 matches of the entire weekend was Ray Phoenix and Pentagon Jr. They actually wrestled each other. Of course, it's going to be a spot fest with those two, but they mixed in a lot of really good psychology because they know each other so well. But it was really, really good. We got to see Tajiri wrestle. You can tell it's not that he's not interested. It's just I don't think he can do a whole lot anymore, so he really wasn't in the match that much. We'd get to see him miss somebody, but the highlight for me on this was a girl I've known for quite a long time. I've worked on some wrestling shows with her, Samantha Heights, who also won the Heart of Shimmer Championship that weekend. I got to see her at the WrestleCon Super Show in front of 1,000 people. I was so happy for her. I didn't get a chance to talk to her, but she was a busy lady, as you can imagine. Okay. The most ridiculous, oddball six-man tag team to ever exist. Hurricane Helms, X-Pac, and Jushin Thunder Liger wrestled the Revolt, which is Caleb Conley, Zane Riley, and Jake Manning. Super nice guy. I talked to Jake the next day at WrestleCon for about 5 or 10 minutes. He is, for some of you who don't know, he is the brainchild behind $5 Wrestling. I love $5 Wrestling. It's one of the things I really watched a lot right after my dad passed, just to kind of make me happy and laugh, because I knew, and I told Jake that, and he shook my hand and kind of put his hand on my shoulder and said, I'm glad I could help. The match was as goofy as you think it was going to be, but I thought it was really neat the way Sean Waltman, X-Pac, kind of put over Liger as big a deal as he actually is. And then Hurricane said it took him up until the morning of the Super Show to be able to get permission to work this match because of how much he respects Liger, which I thought was really cool. Zack Sabre Jr. and Shane Strickland was phenomenal. I'm really excited to see what Shane Strickland does in NXT. Sabre Jr. is probably the best technical wrestler in the world. It's amazing. A lot of people didn't really know how to take this because it compared to the previous match, and like Pentagon and Phoenix, they really slowed down and went real technical, which I really like, because I like all this Spot Fest and Young Bucks and all that kind of stuff, but when it comes down to it, I really like a technical match. And it was really, really good. If you can see footage of this match, you've got to go see the submission Sabre used to win. It hurt me, and I was sitting probably 35 feet away. It might not have been, the next match might not have been the most technical masterpiece of the weekend, but it was far and away perhaps the most entertaining match of the weekend. It was SoCal Uncensored, Daniels Kazarian and Scorpio Sky against Best Friends and a guy I had never seen in person. I'd seen a lot of video of him, but I don't think his character really translates real well on video. You have to see him in person. Orange Cassidy. The gimmick he uses is phenomenal. I don't know how well it would translate on a national stage, but on the indies and what he does, I can see why he gets what he gets, because he's so committed to it. The spot of WrestleMania weekend, far and away, was Cassidy had an extra pair of glasses, put them on Daniels, and they get into a chop fest, and it's literally this for 3 minutes. That's as hard as they hit each other. And then Daniels low blows him, and SoCal Uncensored ends up getting the win. And then we didn't stay for the main event. Because we had to be up. We had been up super early all day. Like, we'd been running all day, nonstop, constant. And then we had another long day the next day with WrestleCon and Access. But so it was Will Ospreay and Bandito. From what I hear, it was fantastic. Ospreay took a ridiculous suicide dive bump over the guardrail into the crowd. I'm kind of surprised New Japan and Ring of Honor let him do that. From what I hear, Ospreay was not real happy after the main event with the reaction that he and Bandito got, because the crowd was spent. The show was I think it started at 7:15. It didn't get over until almost 11, which if you'd been going to shows all day, I can understand why you'd be burnt out. But we went upstairs and went to sleep, and then because the next morning we had WrestleCon. And this is my second WrestleCon this year. It was not my second one this year. It's my second. This year was my second WrestleCon. And the two experiences between New Orleans last year and New York this year could not be more vastly different. Last year in New Orleans, everything was in one room. It was way too cramped. It was way too hot. Even the big names were in the same room as the normal ones. You couldn't tell where lines ended, and where they began. we had kind of swore off WrestleCon until we saw that Tully Blanchard was going to be there, but High Spots really, really did a great job this year. I mean, they were in a much bigger hotel, but they had 3 whole rooms that they used. The one room downstairs was primarily where, like, bigger name guys was, like, Bret Hart was down there, and then Saturday when Shawn Michaels was there, he was right beside Bret, which I thought was kind of a funny twist of irony. But Iron Sheik was down there. More on that later. But yeah, and then they had one whole room of people, and then you go up an escalator, and then they had another whole. So it was very spread out, very nice. Completely changed my opinion of WrestleCon. Hopefully that they're able to get a place in Tampa, which is, you know, fairly similar to what they were able to get in New York City. People I met this year at WrestleCon, I met Brian Zane again, super nice guy. Joey Ryan, I got the Rest in Penis t-shirt. Not sure how often I'm going to be able to wear that except at wrestling shows, but it's okay. And then I got Baby Doll, who used to manage, you know, Dusty Rhodes, and I think she managed Magnum for a little while. And then she also, of course, managed Tully Blanchard during his biggest run as a singles wrestler. I met Summer Rae, super nice. She has red hair now, which I didn't recognize her at first. I walked around for like 10 minutes trying to find her, and I'm like, oh, there she is. She's got red hair. Taya Valkyrie, who super duper nice. Her husband's kind of a dick, but he always kind of has been. Francine, super nice lady. There was actually, her and Daphne were sitting together, but Daphne was away at that time, and I wasn't going to ask Daphne to take my picture with Francine because that would have been ridiculous. But my brother was meeting his people that he had at WrestleCon. I was walking around getting mine. Francine actually took me by the arm and went and found the promoter who had them there and had him take our picture. Something she really didn't have to do. Ashley Massaro, who still looks really, really good. She was with Caitlyn, because I would assume they're close friends. I'd have to say the next guy that I met might have been the nicest person I met all weekend. Nikita Koloff. I actually wasn't originally going to meet Nikita, but my brother had a meet and greet for him already and said he was so nice and took time with everybody. But yeah, super nice guy, and he did, even like people asked him to, he would do the Russian accent, which I thought was really cool. And then the next guy I met kind of broke the wrestling Twitter and the internet Saturday night at Ring of Honor. I've never really been that big a fan of Enzo Amore, or whatever you want to call him. But I saw how he was interacting with people, and he was being so nice and polite and taking time. I figured, you know what the hell, it was only $20. I took way too, I didn't end up spending the same amount that I thought I was going to. I always take too much, but like my dad always said, it's always better to have more than you. It's better to have too much as opposed to have to go to the ATM, which I talked to a guy who waited in line at the ATM for an hour and 10 minutes. Thank God I had enough cash. And then the 3 biggest ones for me at WrestleCon this year were SoCal Uncensored, Daniels, Kazarian, and Scorpio. The great Muda, who I'm amazed he was able to wrestle Saturday, because even after double knee replacement, he still doesn't walk real well. But he was super nice. That was a big deal for me to get to meet him. And then the biggest deal for me of the whole weekend, literally the reason we rebooked our WrestleMania trip, anybody who knows me knows who my favorite professional wrestler of all time is. It's Tully Blanchard. I got him to laugh when I said I get into arguments with people that he was by far and away the best member of the Four Horsemen, but couldn't have been a nicer guy. I had a combo, so I got a picture and an autograph. I'm not real big into autographs, so I didn't get that many, but I had a classic superstar figure that he signed, and it's up beside my bed. Yes, I'm going to sleep with that Tully Blanchard figure beside my bed for the rest of my life. And then after that, Oh, it was we knew we were gonna meet Iron Sheik. We didn't know if we were gonna do the pro photo op or the one at his table. It turned out it was, I don't think it was cheaper, but we wanted a better quality picture. So we get in line. It's $50 to get a pro photo with the Iron Sheik. We're waiting in line. We're second, and we get up there, and he goes, "Hey," and me and my brother both said we were going to lose our minds if he called us Bubba. And that was literally the first thing was, "Hey, how you doing, Bubbas?" And it was fantastic. But you can tell he's not all with it anymore, but he's still, like, he looks so appreciative that fans still care and want to see him. And then as we're leaving WrestleCon, he's leaving his pro photo op session. And I don't know if it was prompted or whatever, but he literally rolls right by us, and then all of a sudden he just yells, "Hulk Hogan, #1 jabroni." And everybody around him just starts cracking up laughing. Oh, I forgot to mention, while we were waiting in line, Alicia Tout did this little, like, interview thing just to keep people entertained while they were waiting in line. It was Colt Cabana, who, I mean, if you're a wrestling fan and don't appreciate what Colt Cabana has meant to and done for independent professional wrestling, I don't know what to tell you. And I know a lot of people don't like him. I've liked him from the first time I saw him. If you want a different opinion of this guy, go listen to his appearance on the AIW podcast with John Thorne and Swoggle. MJF was brilliant, top of the line. Just, it was 9 o'clock in the morning. He was just being a dickhead heel, which is what he is. Something cool that WrestleCon did on Friday, and I think they did it on Saturday with Pancakes and Pile Drivers, was if you bought admission to the show, you got into the convention, and if you bought admission to the convention, you got into the USA versus the World show. I didn't see a whole lot of it. I did go watch Ethan Page and MJF, and then as we were leaving to go upstairs to kind of rest up before we left for Access, I think it was Tanaka and Brian Gage was just getting going. It's vastly apparent, and I like Brian Cage. He's a tremendous worker. It's vastly apparent that TNA does not have a drug testing policy, because if they did, I don't know how Brian Cage would work there. But from there, we went upstairs to rest up for a little while. And I don't remember which people I met on which day. So I'm just going to go through a list of people that I met at Access. Anybody that complained about Access this year, was it a pain to deal with and get to? Yes, it was. I loved the setup for Access this year because they actually had 3 autograph tables, I think. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, 3 autograph tables, and then 3 stations where it was like professional photo. There were like multiple people in each booth, which the professional photos came out amazingly well. But to talk about Access, we get there, and I told my brother before we got there, I said, because we missed Thursday night because of the Super Show, we missed Friday afternoon because of WrestleCon. I said my weekend would be made if I could get, and it didn't matter who else I met, if I could get Sonya Deville and Elias. Elias, not so much for me, but for my sister. My sister's 2 favorite professional wrestlers of all time are Damian Sandow and Elias. So Elias was important because I took one of her figures to get signed. And we get in, and the first one I see is a pro photo op area, and it's the Iconics. I'm like, oh, I really want to meet them, but let me go see them, and I can always come back. And then I go around the corner, and then I see it's Shelton Benjamin. At one table, it's Shelton Benjamin, Sonya Deville, and Elias. So I'm like, yes, I ran. I was like a loop and a half back, so it was super quick to get through. So my weekend was made for Access right then and there. So everybody else was cherry on top. But like it was weird because you'd walk into the main part, which was where the Superstore was, and they had like the big Bootios blow up thing from 32, and some other stuff. I did get my picture with the Triple H cardboard cutout, the finger point one. I thought that was pretty funny. But, yeah, and then you go through this. If the little tent that was covering it wasn't there, you would have went back outside. But then you walk through here, and back in this other area was where, like, the NXT matches were, more autograph and picture stations, an autograph and a picture station, and then the VIP area. But I hope I hope they keep this similar. Like, I hope there's more room so they can add more stations and booths and stuff. But I really hope they keep this setup of the pro photo ops, because I really, really liked it. The only person that I met at Access, and he wasn't rude, but you can tell he's not comfortable doing this kind of stuff, is Shelton Benjamin. Like, he was super nice. Like, he was nice, but you could tell it wasn't his favorite thing in the world to do, which I can completely understand that. But I'm just going to go through my Facebook pictures that are the pictures I uploaded to Facebook, and let everybody know, like, let you know who I met and everything. The Singh brothers, Jeff Jarrett, which I go to meet Jeff Jarrett, and sorry for that noise. I go to meet Jarrett, and he's like, "Oh, just hold on a second, man." And I'm like, "Okay." He was checking the flight status of his wife and kids' flight. They were supposed to land at like 9:45, but that's neither here nor there. I just thought it was kind of funny. Like, it's kind of cool that he was so concerned that making sure their flight landed. Wasn't real thrilled with having to meet Sean Waltman, but he was in the thing with Jarrett, and I wanted to meet Jeff Jarrett. So Heavy Machinery was really, really cool. Tyler Breeze, I talked to him briefly about the GM mode videos that him and Woods do. I watch them every week. Like, I watched them nonstop the last 2 weeks before WrestleMania, because I was working third shift and it helped the time go faster. Ember Moon, who I actually saw her last ever independent match at AIW in Cleveland. So that I mentioned that to her. Apollo, Alundra Blaze, who she was wearing furry stuff all weekend and doing the peace sign. I don't know. The Brian Kendrick, which was pretty cool. I've always liked Brian Kendrick. Like I said, Shelton Benjamin, Sonya Deville, Elias, Dana Brooke, who was really, really cool. Titus O'Neil, Cedric Alexander. Now, and then some, like Cedric I met twice. And Alundra Blaze I met like 3 times, simply because they were in booths and areas with other people I wanted to meet, so I wasn't gonna skip. I thought that would have been. There were people who skipped pictures. I thought that would have been rude. Donovan Dijak, who had the best last couple of days, but he was really cool. R-Truth asked me if I was excited to be at SummerSlam, which was his thing, which I thought was kind of funny. Lucia House Party, who actually had the piñatas, which was really funny. Deonna Purrazzo, who I've always enjoyed her stuff from Ring of Honor and other places. And this goes without saying, like, she's had this issue. I've seen men have this issue, women wrestler, it doesn't matter. If you're at an event for that person, like we were, like Deonna works for WWE and we were at Access, don't bring up the fact that she dates Marty Scurll. She hears that enough. That's not the reason she's there. Leave her alone and just be polite. Like, the guy in front of me brought up Marty, and I walked up and I apologized to her because I thought it was really rude. Just be polite. And then I think it was Saturday morning, we knew Alexa Bliss was going to be there, and generally the main like photo thing was like back in a corner, so you knew where like the bigger names were going to be for if they were doing photos. So I took a complete guess. I got in line, and then I saw this stampeding herd of people running towards the line I was in, and my brother and it was Alexa. She was super nice. She's so tiny. Like, I'm only 5'8". I felt tall next to her. That's how short she is. It's ridiculous. Godfather, who was really, really cool, had a purple pimp hat on, great. Which, in an ironic twist with what happened later Saturday evening, I met the Revival again, and they were wearing Heart Foundation chalkline jackets, which, if you know what happened at the Hall of Fame, you know why that was kind of funny. Teddy Long, who was rocking a sweet gray beard, I have to give it up to him on that. Mark Henry, Eric Young, who does not have a beard anymore, and it really scares me that he doesn't. He literally looks like a grown man baby without a beard. And then 2 other people I really wanted to meet again. I don't know what it's like, what he went through, but I respect his journey and how he's been so open. Mike and Maria Kanellis. I told him how much I loved when they were in the Kingdom, and because I met Mike last year. It was right after their daughter Freddie Moon was born, but I had never met Maria. Such a nice lady. But they were super sweet, and Mike was getting close to 21 months of sobriety, so I congratulated him on that. Couldn't have been a nicer group of people. Where were we at? And then who was it? Oh, okay. And then Saturday after, so that was the end of Saturday morning. Saturday afternoon, I got the pro photo ops. Again, I just guessed. I guessed on people. Saturday afternoon, I got Gallows and Anderson, who were not shaking hands or high-fiving. They were just 2 sweeting people, which I thought was cool. Lacey Evans, who she was calling everybody a nasty as they walked up, but then, shook in everybody's hands and thanking them for coming. Chris Hero, who was wearing a pretty sweet chalk line Lawrence Taylor Bam Bam Bigelow t-shirt from WrestleMania 11. I brought up last year I met him. He was wearing a Larry Sweeney shirt, and so 2 years in a row, Heroes knocked it out of the park, or Cassius Ohno, has knocked it out of the park with the shirts he's been wearing when I met him. And then again, I lucked out. I got back in a line, and it was No Way Jose, Sarah Logan, and Liv Morgan, who I love Sarah Logan to death. Like, I jokingly told her, I'm like, if your husband would beat me up, I would declare my undying love for you. She legitimately looks like she's 12 years old without makeup on. Like, she just has you would not think it was the same person if Liv Morgan wasn't standing beside her. It's crazy. Liv, I'm not saying she doesn't look pretty on TV. TV does not do justice with how pretty Liv Morgan is in person. But couldn't have been cooler people. And then the big one of that little group there was Johnny Gargano. A guy had gotten tipped off that Gargano was going to be there, so I stayed in that line. We talked about AIW pretty briefly because I had Saturday afternoon. I had a Daniel Bryan VIP, and I had him sign the Absolution 5 AIW Absolution 5 DVD because Gargano won a 4-way match against Crimson, Tommy Mercer, Facade, and Sterling James Keenan, a.k.a. Corey Grace, and then went and wrestled a half-hour draw against Daniel Bryan. And it was funny. He signed it. Daniel Bryan signed it, and I got my picture. And then he said, "Can I see that for a second?" And he goes, "Is this the one where my ass was out for 20 minutes?" Because featured in the first Wrestling Road Diaries, he literally thought it would be funny. He wrestled Johnny Gargano for 20 minutes with his ass hanging out. He thought that was the funniest thing, and he got a big chuckle out of that, but he thought it was really cool I would bring something like that to get signed. And then Saturday, I think this is all Saturday evening. Yeah. I got Killian Dane and Alexander Wolf, Candice LeRae, who she saw I had a Shayna Baszler shirt on. And she said, "Oh no, you have to block your shirt. You got to block it out." And she was just joking, but she's always been so nice. Even every time I've met her, I'm going to go back. Candice, super sweet girl. She deserves every good thing she gets. She deserves. Gargano, it's not. I don't think he remembered who I was, but he remembered my face from AIW because I've got a goofy looking face, so it's easy to remember. But Saturday evening, I got Aaliyah, who gave me grief because I was wearing a Toronto Blue Jays hat and she's from Toronto. ACH, who there's a running theme. A lot of these people have gone through AIW, so if you're interested in becoming a wrestler, go to the AIW school, work through AIW. You'll probably end up in WWE at some point. And then another big one for me this weekend, who I'll get to again later when I talk about going home, was Matt Riddle. Super nice guy. He had a shirt and tie on, and I go, let me ask you a question. Do you have him on? And he lifted his foot up, and he goes, you know it, bro. He had flip-flops on. I thought that was kind of funny. And then Saturday evening, I had a VIP with Tommaso Ciampa and Shayna Baszler. I had Shayna sign last year. I had Heidi Lovelace, Ruby Riott sign the AIW Bloodsport DVD, which featured Heidi and Shayna in the main event. It was the first non-Girls Night Out show that two women had ever headlined in the history of AIW. And again, Shayna thought that was pretty cool that I'd bring that for her to sign. I love how Ciampa is a good guy now after TakeOver. He still wasn't smiling in any of his pictures. He seemed upbeat, and he seemed like he was moving around real well, so hopefully he's not out as long as they're projecting or predicting, I guess. And then Sunday morning, our last access session was Sunday morning. The first table I went to was Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly. Of course, members of the Undisputed Era. And then Jessamine Duke and I can't ever say her name right. Is it Maria Shafir, I think, is roughly how you say her name, but both super nice. And then I met Ivory, who super cool. Kona Reeves, who might have the best hair I've ever seen in my life. Oh, one of my favorite moments of the weekend, Luke Harper. Luke Harper's in one of the photo lines. I walk up, he's wearing a Stan Nikita's donut shirt, and I literally bow to him. I say, your shirt is fantastic. Thank you so much for wearing it. He goes, oh, you're familiar with Wayne's World? I said, sir, I grew up on Wayne's World. There's a guy from NXT. I don't really remember his name. I feel really, really bad about that. But Sami Zayn, who was wearing a button-up shirt tucked in, and he kind of looked like he belonged in the Book of Mormon. Super nice. Reminisced about how we almost hit him with our car on Bourbon Street in New Orleans for 30. Street Profits. Walter, who he's as intimidating as he looks on TV. Super scary man. Alicia Fox, who was wearing her captain's hat, which I thought was pretty funny. Kurt Hawkins, the man who broke his 269 or 70 match losing streak Sunday night. Ron Simmons, who I told him how much I love the Nation of Domination. We did the Nation Fist. And then the last one, I'm kind of surprised they had her sign in, but Dana Warrior. Super nice lady. She was wearing a really sweet airbrushed Ultimate Warrior dress. But yeah, that's everybody I met at Access. Like I said, the only one, and it wasn't that he was rude, but Shelton just kind of, standoffish might have been the right word. I don't think he knew how people were going to take to him. But that was like no issue. Like, this is the first year I haven't dealt with somebody that I've met where they've been a total dick. The worst example was in Dallas when it was it Dallas or New Orleans? New Orleans the first time. It was Booker T and Alex Riley. Both dickheads. People can talk about how much they love Booker T. In my opinion, he's an asshole and always will be. But, yeah, but nobody was rude. Like, even the people that worked at the cruise terminal, super nice. I interacted with the same guy like six or seven times because it was in the same photo booth. But, and then after I met Dana Warrior and my brother was in line to meet. Oh, my brother's big one, he waited an hour and 45 minutes Sunday. He got to meet Sting. That's why Sting was pulled from WrestleCon. Sting was a free autograph session, but my brother got to meet him. My brother was really excited. He said that was his number one all weekend, all trip. If he got to meet Sting, didn't matter what else happened. So I'm very happy he got to meet Sting. From there, we went back and rested for a couple hours, got some food, and then we went. Bless WrestleCon for doing this. They had chartered buses that took you to and from WrestleMania. It was, I want to say it was like $50 a person, round trip. Well worth the money if they do it in Tampa next year. If you're staying at the WrestleCon Hotel, they probably won't because it's not that far. It's like a 10-minute drive, so they probably won't. But in the future, like Dallas or wherever, Orlando, I wholeheartedly recommend it. Thank you, WrestleCon and High Spots, for doing that. And then we get to WrestleMania itself. Oh my God, WrestleMania was so long. I don't even, 7.5 hours. 7.5 hours. That's really all, but not really. But it was so long, but I felt like it really flowed really well. And I thought everything, like, there was nothing that really, Batista Triple H at the beginning kind of drug, but towards the end it picked up. Really, the only couple things I'm gonna hit on was, I don't know why everybody's hating on Miz and Shane. I thought Miz and Shane was awesome, especially the superplex spot off the scaffolding. I thought was really, really cool. And then the Iconics winning the tag titles, which was the right move. They should have been the first champions, but and then that whole situation coming out of that with Bayley and Sasha, that's another topic for another day. The main event, I still don't think Becky winning was the right idea. I still would have held off for another couple months. I would have had her, or you could have even waited a month and had her cash in at Money in the Bank that night. I still think Vince threw a lot of money away by having Becky win already, but Vince McMahon's a billionaire and I'm not, so Vince probably knows better than I do. But the biggest moment of WrestleMania, bar none, far and away, was Kofi Kingston winning the WWE Championship. I've been to 5 of the last 6 WrestleManias. I've seen a lot of emotional stuff. I saw Daniel Bryan win at WrestleMania 30. I saw Seth Rollins cash in Money in the Bank. I've never been a part of such a genuinely emotional moment and big moment in wrestling, or maybe even in life, was when Kofi got the 1, 2, 3 Kofi wins. I've never seen a whole stadium or an arena for wrestling just literally, even people who did not want Kofi to win, and there were people right beside us who didn't want Kofi to win. Everybody got up. Everybody was screaming, cheering, jumping up and down. The guy deserves it. He's been busting his ass for 11 years. He deserved to be champion 10 years ago, just like CM Punk said in an interview. Guys, it's fantastic, but it should have happened a long time ago. But and then, well, they I don't want to say they did spoil it because they released the shirt on Twitter like 10 minutes before the match was over. But Big E bringing the box out, kind of, maybe you thought it was a swerve, I don't know. But to me, the most remarkable thing about WrestleMania and that match was the genuine emotion that you saw from Big E and Xavier Woods. They weren't in the match. They didn't just win the WWE title, but the emotion that they felt for Kofi winning. And everybody can say, yes, it's predetermined. It doesn't matter. That shows how close they are and how much they love each other. That those two guys want the same thing Kofi just got, but they're genuinely more excited that Kofi won than if they had won. It was wonderful to see. And then Kofi's son getting on the ropes and holding the shirt up. Of course, there was a new shirt. Shirt's pretty cool. But there's just too much to go. The Dr. one more thing. The Dr. Thugonomics coming back. I am not a John Cena fan by any stretch of the imagination. That was really, really cool to see. But it was just, WrestleMania was so long. They need to consider. I agree with what some people are saying. There's no point in the Andre Battle Royal and the Women's Battle Royal. Oh, let's talk about that for a second. The Women's Battle Royal pissed me off. Yes, I know you're in New Jersey and Carmella's supposedly from New Jersey. Son of a bitch, let Sarah Logan win. Sarah Logan was going to get more of a rub from that than Carmella. But get rid of the 2 Battle Royals. Move some of the matches onto the pre-show. You'll speed things up. People would have got out of there before the rain started, which, thank God, we had a bus to sit on at least. Like, we were out of the parking lot. WrestleMania got over, 12:15? We were on the highway by 12:45, which, to me, was astronomically amazing. But I so feel for the people who were stuck outside MetLife because New Jersey Transit didn't know what the fuck they were doing. And apparently they said, oh, we didn't know it was going to run over, and we didn't know there were going to be that many people. There were 70-some thousand people the last time, and you knew there was going to be more this time. And you weren't adequately prepared. You guys get big events all the time. Hell, you guys had the freaking Super Bowl. But luckily, we get back really quick, so we were able to actually get like 6 hours of sleep before we had to get up and leave for the airport. And we get to the airport, we get checked in, we go to get something to eat. We're sitting down getting ready to eat, and then I look over and I look at my brother and go, Brian, that's Forgotten Sons. And we both look over, and there's Blake, Riker, and Cutler are all sitting there with, I would assume, like an office guy from NXT. And I thought, oh, like they must be leaving from around here. Maybe some of them are gone already, and they're on the second wave. So I'm like, I'm gonna see if there's an Orlando flight. So I see there's an Orlando flight like 2 gates down from us. So I just go. We had like an hour and a half to kill before our flight. So I'm like, I'm gonna go down and just kind of walk around. And then I sat down and started reading my book. And then all of a sudden, I'm not paying attention. I'm reading my book. All of a sudden, I hear, "Hey, bro, is there anyone sitting beside you?" And I look up, and it's Matt Riddle. So I'm like, no, man, you're good. Sit down. And then I look up from my book, and literally, except for Adam Cole, who did Access, Gargano, who did Access, and then a couple other ones, literally the entire NXT roster is sitting amongst this terminal. And anybody and everybody you could think of. War Raiders, Velveteen Dream, Kushida. Velveteen, like I said, Velveteen, War Raiders, Kushida. Anybody and everybody you could think of. And then for some odd reason, Jay White was there. I don't really know why. Ooh, maybe he sent in signals. Probably not. But I thought that was a really neat way to end the trip, seeing all that. Like, I'm not one of those people who goes and stalks them at the airports or goes up and asks for pictures at the airport. They're there to relax and go home. I'm not going to bother them. It was cool enough just seeing them all sitting around. I will say, I can see where people say Velveteen Dream can kind of be a self-pretentious douche, because you could tell like he was hiding and didn't want anybody to see him. But it was really cool to see all of them sitting there. But to wrap this up, because I've gone, holy shit, 47 minutes already. But this was probably the most fun I've ever had on a WrestleMania trip. Even though it was a clusterfuck to get to. My brother and I had such a good time. 2 of the easiest flights I've ever been on in my life. Like, there was a little bit of turbulence landing because it was windy when we landed on Thursday, but other than that, no problems. Security was easy. Really, really looking forward to Tampa next year. Kind of scouting hotels already. I think we're going to try and stay at this Embassy Suites downtown that's literally connected to the convention center, which would make access really easy. But yeah, I appreciate everybody who watched. Who, if you sit through all this, bless you. If not, if you just skip through or whatever, I appreciate anybody who watches these. I don't expect a whole lot of people to watch these. I'm not expecting to make a living or a career or anything out of this. My mom's always said I enjoy talking, so this is, I just enjoy sitting here discussing, putting my thoughts out there, reviewing my trip. But like I said again, anybody who watches this, I appreciate it. Thank you very much, and I'll see you guys next time.